Hi, I'm Nate from Nate's Gear Guide. I'm here today to give you a quick demo of the new Donner series of pedals, the Vivid series. These just came out within a few weeks ago as far as I can tell. There's 4 pedals in the series right now. I guess a few things about them. First off, they are beautiful. They look really cool. Most of the Donner pedals have had decent designs to them, but they're fairly utilitarian. The next thing you'll notice is typically their pedals are in the compact shape, so about that size. These ones are the mini size. These are more the compact size, so a little bit bigger. Think similar to a lot of the TC Electronics, things like the Hall of Fame, that sort of thing. So let me just give you a quick overview of the 4 pedals. So first we've got the Dumble Drive, next we've got the Soph Gate, then we've got the Island Delay, and the Vintaverb Reverb. So each of these pedals is pretty unique. I think it's a pretty solid lineup to start a series like this. I hope they add more pedals, more options to this series, maybe a distortion or a fuzz or things like that. But there's a couple new ones to this line, especially the Dumble Drive is kind of a cool addition. So a few things you'll notice about each of these pedals as you take a look is each of them has a foot switch, as you would normally have, just a single foot switch. And then each of them also has 4 different parameter knobs, as well as each one has a toggle switch. So really, I think one of the really cool things about this new line from Donner, the Vivid series, is that you've got a lot more control over your sound and your tone, what you're trying to accomplish. As I mentioned before, most of their pedals are the mini kind, and so with that, you can only fit so much on a pedal like this. So really, this Vivid series is a next step for Donner, in my opinion. They look a lot nicer, there's a lot more depth in the functionality, and just overall, it looks like a more solid pedal. They're metal, as really most of the Donner pedals are, they are pretty solid. So again, what you'll see here is I've got in my chain, I've got all 4 of them set up here. Each one takes about a 150 to 200 milliamps current draw. And so that's something to keep in mind. Digital pedals will often take a higher current draw like that. I guess for context, I am running my Fender Nashville Deluxe Telecaster into my Fender Champion 40 solid state amp. So nothing too crazy here. I've got it on the neck pickup throughout this demo. So let's go through and let's try them out. Okay, so let's jump in and I'm just going to do a quick demo of each one of these. So I'm going to start with the Dumble Drive. I'm going to leave the other ones turned off just to give you an idea what it sounds like. So this is the dry signal. All right, so you can see it's got a nice little crunch. Again, that's the first setting. Each of these, the switches in the toggle will change it slightly. So again, this is really, that's about as heavy as you're gonna get in this tone. You can drive it a little bit more, particularly if you stack it with another pedal, but you're gonna get a decent crunch there. Again, I don't have any other pedals or anything else engaged. My amp is clean. That's the sound in the first setting. So if you drop it into the second one here, it's a little bit cleaner. It adds a nice warmth to it. I won't get into what Dumble means. You can do an internet deep dive to learn more about the Dumble sound. So again, this is off. On. All right, and then this is the final setting. Again, even more clean. All right, so I won't go into more detail just for the sake of time. So next I'll go to the Soph Gate. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time on this. I don't play a rig with a ton of noise, but I'll just talk through a few of the settings here. I think what stands out to me is with this one, obviously, it's got the effects loop option in it, so you can isolate those noisy pedals. A couple other things: it has an attack and a release functionality, as well as your standard threshold. It's got a soft and a hard toggle in the middle that you can adjust as well. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot more time on it. I don't use an effects loop. I don't have a lot of noisy pedals. I usually get the drive from my pedals rather than my amp. When I get a nicer amp, that'll probably change. But so now I'll move on to the island pedal. So this is the island delay and looper. So I won't get into the looper too much. It's pretty short. It's only about, I think, 20 to 30 seconds. So it really isn't super long. But it could be plenty for you. So with this, there's a lot of nice settings on this pedal. I think I won't go through all of them. There's a lot of simple ones. You've got your standard digital, analog, and tape, but then it starts getting into some really cool other options as well. Some of those options include, let's see, we've got the lo-fi, the mod, the ping pong, the deluxe, the reverse, and the shimmer. And really, the last one is the one I'm going to talk through a little bit more, is the tremolo. I think the tremolo sound on it is really cool. I'll give you that demo in just a second. I won't go through all the other functionality because I think it's actually pretty consistent with most. So let's give the tremolo sound a try. Okay. So here's the island delay looper on tremolo. This is the dry signal again. All right, so again, moving through these pretty quickly. So next we've got the Vintaverb. So I've got mixed feelings on the Vintaverb. I think it's pretty nice. It takes a little bit of time to get the settings dialed in. And I won't go into detail on a lot of the settings. It's really got most of your standard reverb settings. I think really the one standout or unique setting on this is it's got a disverb, which is kind of a distortion verb, which obviously the distortion would only impact kind of your tails on your delay, which is kind of interesting. So I'll demo that in just a second. It's also got your standard, your mix, which shows how loud the reverb is, and then the decay on how long your tails are. And then it has a tab or a knob that's called tone, which is a little bit confusing to me because really I don't think it affects the tone that much, except that it really, I think what that really is more of like a room size. Now each of these reverbs isn't a room reverb, but that's the best way I can describe it, is kind of the size of the reverb. And so that one's a little bit confusing. The one thing I will say about this reverb is it does seem to boost your signal just a little bit, and I'm not sure how to really change that. Really, the one thing that I would recommend with this pedal, if you're going to get, is to keep the mix at about 9 o'clock. So really only, a quarter of the way engaged. Any more than that, and it gets kind of this tinny, metallic sound that just doesn't sound great to me. It could just be my pedal, but that's kind of the experience I've had. But I found if I keep it at that 9 o'clock or about a quarter turn on that dial, then it actually sounds pretty good. So, like I said, I'm not going to go through all the functionality of this pedal, but I'm just going to pop over to the disverb just because it's kind of interesting. Okay, so I'm just going to jump in and give you a quick demo of the Vintaverb in the distortion verb or disverb setting. This is dry. So really, the Donner Vivid series is a really nice next step for Donner. They've got a lot of the mini pedals that are really solid. Most of my experience with Donner pedals have been pretty good. But this is an important next step. They're a little bit larger. They've got more functionality. You can really customize the sound and effects you're trying to dial in here. As well, I mean, they just look really nice. They've got a really cool design. The size, again, can fit on almost any pedal board. I think what's also important is even like the features of each pedal is kind of the next step up. You know, so your delay and your reverb are stereo. The Soph Gate here, the noise gate, has an effects loop that you can patch in, which is really nice to isolate some of those noisy pedals that you have. And so really, it is a cool line, and I think it's. I've had a lot of fun trying it out. Thanks again for joining me on Nate's Gear Guide. Hope this video was helpful. Give it a like if it is. Subscribe if you haven't. Watch for more gear videos, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Thanks.